Let's get right into, though, the hot topic of the day, Teddy. Overnight, news breaks. Antonio Brown goes to Siberia, a.k.a. Buffalo, rescinded in the morning. We're supposed to have this done, confirmation, ready to go on Antonio Brown, Teddy, by Friday. Is it going to get done today, and where the heck is he going?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the organizations that seem to be most interested in Antonio Brown, the Redskins, the Raiders, the Bills are in the talk. We're not talking about winning organizations. We're talking about organizations that are trying to sell tickets to their fan bases because they're not sold out for 2019. So the Antonio Brown saga, it's big in the media in terms of how it's going to affect these teams on the field. I mean, we're talking less than a half-win difference for the team that signs Antonio Brown in terms of their season win number versus the team that doesn't. I don't expect him to be an impact player in the NFL in 2019, and all this yibber-yabber is just that. It's yibber-yabber. You call it the silly season, Donnie, and it's very true. The rumors you hear are rumors from deals 3 days ago that got shot down, like what we're talking about with the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, and when we're looking at Antonio, I mean, nobody's questioning the type of player Antonio Brown is, the amount of production that you can get at him, but sometimes the headaches don't match up to what you're going to get on the field, and especially for an organization where you're not saying, boy, we're really one wide receiver away from winning the Super Bowl this year. If he goes to Buffalo, if he goes to the Oakland Raiders, but the best part about this, Teddy, is I like to read between the tea leaves. Something tells me last night that this deal was consummated to the Bills, and Antonio Brown went nuclear, basically saying, I'm not going to Buffalo. I'm dictating my terms right here. So we'll see where it fares out. But when they were looking for a first-round pick, let's not forget, Teddy, first-round pick they wanted, one of the highest-paid wide receivers who wants to get even more guaranteed money in his 30s going to a losing organization, it looks like. Doesn't make too much sense to me.
No, it's not worth it. You know, I mean, we spent this whole offseason saying, hey, I don't want Manny Machado. I don't want Manny Machado. Whoever signs Manny Machado is not going to be happy. Antonio Brown falls into that same category of a guy who's making a whole lot of money. And Brown is even worse than Machado, being that he's on the wrong side of his career. He's on the downside. What Antonio Brown was for the last 5 years, not what he's going to be for the next 5 years. And whoever signs him is going to find that out the hard way.
Teddy, talking about some downside out here. How about some downside if you were sitting on an under ticket in the Portland game last night with the Thunder? Marquise Morris, loose ball foul call on a free throw, which happens, I don't know, maybe every single free throw in the game. Refs decide to blow the whistle, ends up sending the game to overtime. Over backers rejoice, under backers not happy about it, but a lot of physicality in this ball game, Teddy. But again, we're a gambling show. We like to see how these physicalities impact our tickets.
Sure, and remember, that came on the heels of 2 missed free throws. That's how they got the foul on the loose ball foul. So, I mean, that was a crazy, intense game between two teams that are legitimately fighting for playoff positioning, fighting for home court edge in the first round. Terry Stotts after the game, it was a hell of a game. Went back and forth. Both teams were going at it, physical. The difference was overtime. Yeah, it was. But the end of regulation made all the difference for total bettors. Brutal beat. You had the under in a game that's supposed to stay under the total, but doesn't.
Teddy, on that betting show yesterday, we brought up a game that you might have to bring your brass knuckles to this game. There's not going to be a lot of scoring. It's going to be an ugly game in a senior environment. And yes, it was, and it was brilliant to watch. How about last night, Teddy? UCF boosted himself with a 58-55 victory over Cincinnati, back-to-back wins over ranked opponents. Interesting game because, again, when we're talking about tickets here, you saw an early shift in the morning from -1.5 to -2 to -2.5 at closing time. And sure as anything, Teddy, late in that ball game, a 3-ball rising up at the gun. If it goes down, we go to overtime. If it misses, you cover with UCF and you get that winning ticket there. Great game to watch if you like basketball back in what, Teddy, the 50s and the 60s?
Well, if you had a UCF ticket in your pocket, they covered by the hook. If you had an under ticket in your pocket, as we talked about on the preview about this game on yesterday's show, it's going to be a war. First team to 60 wins. Well, neither team got to 60. They didn't need to get to 60, obviously, with a 58-55 win. But we got to talk about that three-pointer at the buzzer, dude, because this happens every night. That, you know, your three-pointer face, miss. It's such a great face to have. And as a bettor, you all know exactly what I'm talking about. The three-pointer at the buzzer. Although it wasn't the difference between a cover and a non-cover. You still had a chance with UCF had the game gone into overtime.
Yeah, especially with the TV camera angle, Teddy, that you were looking at that game. It was online. It was on target.
It looked
and it was
good.
just short. Hey, man, another inch or two. That's a swish. We're going to overtime. But that was one of those where every once in a while you line up on TV, say, yeah, it looks like it's going to be missed. It looks like it's going to be long or off. That one was a direct line shot there. And let's keep in mind also, nice win by UCF, obviously over Houston, which was a great win. Nice win at home over Cincinnati ranked opponent. Now you're going to go to Philadelphia on Saturday with a quick turnaround. And Temple, who went to UConn and won, sitting directly on that bubble with a lot of these people calling for like March Madness, the Joe Lunardis of the world, saying Temple's right on that bubble. If they can get a victory over UCF, looks like that's going to punch the ticket. So some interesting stuff coming up on the weekend, pre-conference tournament next week in a couple of these Power 5 conferences. Major League Baseball, Teddy, first look. Yes, it is March 8th. We're getting closer and closer, 12 days away from opening day. Major League Baseball will take you a different team each and every day right here on that betting show on sportsbook.com. Today, Teddy, Seattle Mariners, 89-73. New look Mariners out here. And if we take a look at the odds coming into the season with the odds makers, Teddy, 80-1 ticket to win the 2019 World Series, winning 89 games last year, only set at 72.5 out there from the odds makers.
Yeah, well, the reason that they're set at 72.5 after winning 89 games last year is because it's clear rebuild season, rebuild time for Seattle. You want to talk about 9 trades in the offseason, 9 contributors from the roster gone. That includes their top starter, James Paxton, their closer, Edwin Diaz, their shortstop, Jean Segura, the catcher, Mike Zunino, they finally gave up on. Robinson Cano, no longer in Seattle. These are impact guys, and they're no longer, obviously, with the Mariners. That's why they're lined 72.5. And, boy, you read the previews on this squad, and there's not a lot of people think that they're going to win 72.5 games. This feels like a 70-win team. And, look, they were moneymakers last year, number 7 in MLB in profitability. All their profits came on the road, mind you, not Safeco. And it's not Safeco anymore. I forget the new name, but it's not it's not Safeco. They were losers on the run line, no over-under trend a year ago. One thing with Seattle this season is you're not going to have to lay a price with any of their starters. And then again, you look at the back end of this rotation, they're talking about trotting Mike Leake and Wade LeBlanc out for the 4 and 5 starters. King Felix still the number 1 guy. This is not a starting staff that is going to impress anybody, and it's not a starting staff that on paper is going to win a whole lot of games. You look at the lineup, yeah, there's a lot of hype about the new right fielder, Mitch Haniger. He's a big prospect. You have Kyle Seager and Edwin Encarnacion and Jay Bruce in the middle of the order. But, is Malik Smith a leadoff guy, or is he a 4th outfielder that doesn't deserve to be a starter at the MLB level? We'll find out. In the meantime, Seattle, a team that I don't have anything but a sell sign on coming into 2019. They might be a pretty bad ball club.
And I think it's actually, Teddy, on March 20th. I think it's the Oakland A's and the Seattle Mariners that are going to get it underway overseas. And then a week later, we're going to have Major League Baseball opening up here for us. When we take a look, Teddy, because it's a big ballpark up there. And yes, Safeco, whatever it's going to be called now. The pitching staff it's very underwhelming. But the worst part about it is they did have a little bit of a strength in the bullpen last year, Teddy. Now downgrading their bullpen as well. So we all know, look, sometimes winning and losing, you're only as strong as like the last 6 to 9 outs that you can get in the game. Now they're down, like Anthony Schwarzek's back there. You don't have that lights out close that at least if you get that 3-2 lead in the 9th inning, you bring in a viable option. Doesn't look like they have that this year.
Yeah, in my mind, on paper, they look clearly like the weakest team in the division. Yeah. They look as bad as some of the bad teams in the AL Central. They're not the Orioles, but, if I'm projecting out this division, I'm projecting Seattle as the last place team in the American League West. Now, again, I don't know that that's necessarily going to be a huge profits betting against them. There's no starters on the Mariners that are going to attract any betting attention in a positive fashion right from the get-go. But this is not a good team. And, I know the markets know it. 72.5 off a good season last year, but I don't look at Seattle as anything but fade material.